Now let's start recording the video. Today we'll discuss the role of Aura Builder in HTML4 web page editing. Because Aura Builder is a relatively fast web editor that produces ready-to-deploy results, the pages it creates load relatively quickly. It is based on Tailwind and implemented using the Tailwind framework. Static HTML, the editing capabilities of such web pages. The web pages he edits here load fairly quickly. You can take a look at the template he used to create it. So during the creation process, once we have this template, once you have the link, actually it's quite easy to modify. We can see its structure. To change the image, it's located here. You can directly replace it with the image you need. As for editing the text, is also quite convenient. You can edit the content directly here. So it's based on Tailwind. With this architecture, it's relatively easy to modify, but the downside is it has a drawback, which is that when we think if it were 34 how it can be integrated with our CMS, if it doesn't have CMS functionality, then it's quite complicated to use, and actually quite troublesome. So we were thinking, for example, when we were working on this second page, in most cases it will have this kind of product link. For this type of product, when we need to use a CMS, how should we go about it? So I developed this AURACANVAS, a tool like this. For example, let's export this first. It can export static HTML content like this. Okay, everyone can see. It has already been exported. After exporting, so for this web page, how can we modify it? We hope to incorporate its CMS functionality. As you can see, before we do that, here I have to do two things. For example, in Google Drive, I need to create two files, or create n files. This is related to whether you want to integrate with the CMS. For example, this is my product catalog. As for this product, you can increase the quantity of this product. All you need to do is create a catalog. But the prerequisite is that this directory must be publicly shared. In this location, we need to enable sharing. As you can see, let's enable sharing once its content is shared. Anyone with the link, you have to go this far to make it work. Okay, let's take this link, the link for each image, copy its link, then add it to this table. This table, as you can see, this is name, which is the list of your product names. Then its description, a simple, brief description, and its price. And this image URL, the image URL. So here, we can all take a quick look. This is the location of one of its images. This one is that, provided you've already set up sharing, as mentioned earlier, you can use it as an image hosting service. This is another table. It also includes the name, position, and review and its image URL. So here, it displays the content of its image, as you can see. Once you've completed this step, then you can click this Share button, copy the link, and this link is a very important link for us. Okay, so next, we'll move on to I designed a feature called AURACANVAS. In this release 0.2, download this content. Once the download is complete, so for this, we need to have VS Code with download live server to avoid having a lot of your content that is, we won't have to set up this kind of framework ourselves. We just need to use VS Code live server here and download it. All right, then. Once you've downloaded it, you'll see this editor. So I'll open this. Right-click and select Open with Live Server. When you open it this way, it will open our editor. So what does this editor do? This is the AURACANVAS. It allows you to create content. For example, let's import the file I mentioned earlier. The file we just saw with the p-value of 0.001. Import it once it's imported. You can see this file. There are other files as well. So we can import this generated file, and you can see it has successfully recognized it into individual blocks. Here, I'm going to demonstrate two features. One is the import feature. The other one is exploring how to integrate that CMS feature. For example, right here. We need to insert it right here. We need to insert its product database. Then we can put it here in the data source, right here. Let's copy that address over first. For example, this is a product card. This one, this URL. Let's share it here. Copy link. Copy this link. This is the content. We're copying it over manually. This link here. We just click on it, then we'll copy and paste it, and at this point, this value here is the design tool, is this design tool right below it. We don't need to change it. Then load the data. At this point, you can see that it has successfully synced all the data, synced over. Once it's synced over, we've already loaded the data, and actually, there's already something here. Oh, there's already content here. But as for the style of this card, we can change it. We can change some of its content. For example, this uses responsive design. It's about how many rows and columns we have here. Is it 4 rows or 2 rows? For example, we could change it to 3 rows. 3 rows by 2 columns. We can do it right here. If we make the change here, okay, let's apply the modification here. As you can see, it turns into 3 lines. That's it. There are only 3 lines. 3 lines of products. This product, as you can see, all the products are displayed. So, for example, if I don't need that many products, I only need 4 rows. I only need displaying a number like this across 8 columns, so I don't have to display that many. For example, just display 8, not 24. Then I'll click Apply Modify. So here, you can see, only 8 are displayed. It doesn't need to display them all. So this is what creates this function. Also, this is very obvious. This one here isn't in this position, it's probably up there. Then we can click on it and select it. Select this section and drag it up, and that's it. Just drag this section to where you want it. You can drag this up and down. For example, drag it to this position. Now let's take a look at this content. We've made some edits here. We've made a modification here. So this, we can also choose another style. The card style 230. For example, this card standard, so this is the format. This is one of our standard card formats. It has an image with a title and a name. There's also a simple way to display content. Then there's a second type of card style, called the mini card. This style you can also take a look at. The mini card uses the second style. If you switch to the second style, it's also a type of card. These two should be very similar. So now let's select another piece of content. For example, we know that the demo just now was product content. We also often have test motion, which are the cards where everyone leaves comments. When people comment on these cards, for example, like this personal card, like this person card, I can also share it. From this point, everyone must be careful with this sharing feature. It allows anyone to open it. If you can't share or sync, then check this page. Does it have this feature? Is sharing enabled? Okay, let's switching back. Let's switch to his data. Switch back to our new data. Then import it back in. Once it's loaded in, you can see it. The biggest difference between this and the previous one is that the price is no longer there. Without a price, there's only a person here. Look, it's obvious that this card is wrong. Okay, let's click this one. We can drag it over. After dragging it over, we'll switch this card to this test model. We'll test model. This test model card, then switch it again. Now you can see that's already switched to this format. This is the format we've completed it this way. We'll replace its CMS with Google Sheets. This CMS replacement feature allows our AirBuilder. These static HTML web pages are much easier to modify. And it also improves the website's adaptability. So in this case, we can constantly modify this template. So with this kind of batch editing, you can easily edit simple text on our website, as long as you've registered for this account. Are you a pro user? It doesn't matter. You can edit everything if you use our template. It can all be modified. For a collection like this, if you have your own collection, you can replace this entire section, replace the whole thing, with our new solution. You can complete the replacement. Next, I'll demonstrate a table in it. So here we do the same thing, just ignore it. In Tari, we have two ways to link. One is a direct link, and the other is the embedded code method. Both are fine. So in this Tari, we set up this, once we've set up this content that needs to be synchronized, later, when you look at this table, it's a table we just created. Then click on the Embed Form option. This sets it to the standard embedding mode. Inside it, there will be an embedded link. At the same time, it will also have this Get the Code, because when you click Get the Code, it will copy this code, and this is the second method. Generally speaking, the first one is a bit simpler. By directly copying its link. It's more straightforward. Okay, here. We'll copy this link in here. After copying it in, we'll just go ahead and just make sure everyone notices these are two separate tables. I'm currently in the tables is set at the section level. So let's go ahead and add it. Once it's added, you can see it at the very bottom. It has already generated this table. It placed it at the very bottom. When it's placed at the very bottom, look, the table has actually been successfully created. So I'll drag it over to our for example. Drag it to this position. If we click on it again, we can still drag it. This is a good spot to drag it to. Then we can see here, there's a table below this. So regarding the position of this table is often seen, and this table can also be customized. For example, if I click top, I can select from the top the spacing at the top. Then there's the distance from the bottom left and the left and right sides. The distance on the left and the distance on the right, for example, let's look at if we want to move this entire table to the right, I can, for example, I can increase the number as for this number. You can try it yourselves. Let's start with a relatively large number. If we make changes here, we'll use this apply settings. This applies to the section level. We're just applying this to this small part within this larger section. Let's make an adjustment. Just use the apply settings option. This requires us to first select a section. You have to select it once you've selected it. We'll make some adjustments. So with this already adjusted, for example, let's set it to 500. Let's start with a larger value. This way we can compare better. You can clearly see the difference. So at this point, we can see that at this position, it's exactly at this position, it's clearly marked with a 500 here. Why did I choose 500? You can choose this number yourselves. I chose 500 so everyone can see it more clearly. There's a clear gap between them, so therefore, as for our software, this Archiver's canvas has two functions. One function is it allows you to take the form within it and integrate it into our static page to create an editor. Another approach is to extend the functionality of our HTML expanded for tree. Because HTML doesn't have CMS functionality, once this functionality is added, it will have CMS capabilities, which would be very helpful for everyone. That wraps up my presentation for today. My main goal was to introduce you to this AURACANVAS software. AURACANVAS is a video editing software specifically designed to handle these HTML files for editing. That's roughly the idea. Okay, thank you everyone.